Siddharth, good morning or good evening. Hey, Krupa. Can you hear me?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Siddharth, can you put the updated link in the Cyber and Beyond chat?
Sure, I'll do that. The
Because
link is the same, Rajni. The link hasn't changed.
somehow, no, I understand, but like somehow when I click that link, it is taking that to yesterday's session somehow. Because I tested both of them.
Okay. Is it so?
It was okay actually earlier because Krupa and I we were able to join. And suddenly it kicked us off and now it's
Oh, I see.
Hi, Dawn. Good morning. I see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you?
Fine, ma'am.
Sorry, could we try that again just for a Navy check?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much. Fantastic. I can hear you loud and clear.
Good.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dawn. How are you? This is Rajani too.
Hi there. I'm good. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Very well. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking this opportunity for us. I know you've been going through so much because of the hurricane and all.
Yes, but I'm here and that's good. So I'm happy about that.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank
We're
you.
equally glad to have you, Don. Thank you for taking up time on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, I'm happy. I love what you guys are doing here. So it fits right in with what I do. So I'm very excited to be part of it.
Thank you. Okay, guys. The same rules apply, guys. This is for all the students, who have joined us here today. Yesterday, if you remember, a PowerPoint slide which was shown to you during the orientation, which clearly mentioned that you need to keep your cameras on. I'll be absolutely delighted. I see some of you have already started to turn on your cameras. The other thing, which is also very much required, is you renaming your screen name as it was explained yesterday. Just put in your first name, name of your school, and your current grade so that we know whom we are interacting with. And again, like I had said yesterday, doesn't matter even if you are in your pajamas, absolutely fine with us. We are all learners. We are all here to learn. Soumya, you have your hand raised. Go ahead. Don't sorry. We'll just give it one more minute and we'll start then. To all the others who are joining us, do not hear what I was saying, I would request you all to please turn on your cameras. That would really help us. Thank you. Okay, guys, I believe it's time already. Others are still joining, but meanwhile, in the interest of time, which is of utmost importance, I would like us to start. And before we go ahead and do that, I would like to welcome our session leader for today, which is Dawn McCarty. You wouldn't believe it if I say so, but she has literally fought storms to be here today. She was amidst a hurricane, so I'm told. So thank you, Dawn. Thank you for being here with us. We are absolutely delighted to have you. And I'm sure you would have got some sense of what we are doing. But for our audience who may not have got the opportunity to look through Dawn's profile, which we shared, I would like to tell you all about her. She's a very senior level cybersecurity engineer, and when she's not protecting data and assets at work, she's an expert in identifying red flags and critical training of cyber and workplace bullying, predator prevention, cyber awareness, and identity theft prevention. You would be delighted to know that she has made it her mission to prevent these dangerous issues from affecting people at work or from home. She is very passionate about helping everybody to be safe online, and I would not take much of your time, Dawn. I would like to welcome you to start the session and take our students through this wonderful topic of social media security.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm yes, very happy to be here. We survived the hurricane, and unfortunately, some of our neighbors just south of us didn't. So I am extremely lucky and counting my blessings today that I am able to be here with you. So on that note, I'll go ahead and share my screen. And make sure you can see it. Should see a purple screen here.
Yep, it's visible. Thank you.
Great. So I am going to start with my camera on, but in a couple slides in, I'm going to turn my camera off so I'm not distracting everybody. I want everybody to focus on the content itself. So let's go ahead, and I want to welcome all of you for this is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So I want to welcome you on being here and participating in this, because this is an exciting month to really generate a lot of interest and excitement around being safer in general. So this is the month. So I hope that this theme carries with you as you go through this month and things that you do on a daily basis. So I am Dawn McCarty, and in this webinar, you are going to learn how to be safer online. We are living in a virtual era where teens and tweens everywhere are attending virtual classrooms more often, and it's become a way of life. So let me go ahead and let me stop my screen real quick. Okay. So let's dive into this. So one of the positive results from the changes that were brought on by the pandemic is that it allows us to have more flexibility in how we work, learn, and play. So I want to see how many of you have access to virtual classrooms right now. If you can just type that in the chat real quick. I just want to see how many have virtual classroom settings. So go ahead and keep typing that. That's great. So unfortunately, there is a downside to things that have happened since the pandemic in more ways than just having virtual classrooms. So bad actors can now do most of their crime virtually as well, making it much harder for them to get caught. And before we dive in a little further, I want to kind of start you off with this little challenge. So as I go through this presentation, I want you to jot down or count how many ways I refer to the bad guys. And at the end of the presentation, we're going to see if you were able to catch all of them. So if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and dive in. So this is Vanny and Prisha. These are best friends. And Prisha talks to Vanny through Messenger often, but rarely has time to sit down and check her Facebook profile. She tries to log in at least once a week to catch up with her friends and family as often as she can. And she logs into Messenger pretty much daily, and she sees a message from Prisha and immediately opens her message first. And Prisha's freaking out because she's been locked out of her Facebook page. So she's really desperate to reach Vanny. And Prisha had listed her as a delegate to help her unlock her account if she was ever to get locked out. So until recently, Facebook allowed you to designate a friend who could verify that you are who you say you are. So Prisha asked if she could send Vanny the link so that she can help her get her account unlocked. So Prisha then asks her, can you send me your phone number too? Because I can't look it up right now. So Vanny, of course, she's going to help her friend. So she types in her phone number and waits for the text to arrive. And as soon as the text arrives, Vanny immediately clicks on the link to help her friend unlock her Facebook account. Within a few seconds of clicking on the link, Vanny receives another message letting her know that her Facebook password has been successfully changed. And that made her panic a little bit. So she went back to Messenger to tell Prisha, oh my gosh, my Facebook password has changed, but I didn't change it. But Prisha, she never responded again. So Vanny is now very worried, and she quickly discovered that she was not talking to her friend Prisha. She had been scammed by a poser pretending to be her friend, and Vanny no longer has access to her phone or her Facebook account. And now she has to begin that grueling process of trying to regain control of her page. So this is not anyone's fault. Unfortunately, these scams are designed to trick us into believing we are talking to a friend or a trusted friend or a family member. So when this imposter asked Vanny if it was all right if they sent her the link so she could help them unlock the account, of course, Vanny said yes. Many of us would. it really seemed legitimate as far as Vanny could tell. She had unknowingly given a cyber criminal control of her phone and now her Facebook account as well. So how exactly is this happening? It's easy for a cyber thief. All they need to do is play on the emotions of their victims and then pretend to be a troubled friend in need. And then you would end up helping regain access to their account. What they didn't know was that the imposter had already hijacked Prisha's profile, which provided them access to all of her friends and family and to all of her security settings. The real Prisha didn't even know her account was hijacked yet. The thief was able to send a message to Prisha's friends, and Vanny was baited into being scammed because she believed she was talking to Prisha, since it was coming from her account. So we all want to help out a friend. So it seems like this, we base things on trust. We're very trusting individuals. When we see something like that, we may not have thought twice about it. The link that was sent to Vanny's phone was not to identify Prisha. It was a nefarious link that as soon as she clicked on it, it gave control of the device over to the bad actor, as well as all of the access and all the connected accounts, the apps, and the communications over to the scammer. So therefore, the scammer is replicating this tactic to go through the friends of friends to see if they can achieve the same results. First, they hacked Prisha's account, and now they're moving through all of her friends lists. They waste no time, and it seems almost automated when they quickly change as many passwords as possible. So before you can say, I don't have anything on my phone, if you store contacts on your phone, you have information that may pay off for the hacker. We have to start thinking about this as what information is on my phone that could help a hijacker gain access to one of my friends or family members. It goes beyond us. We all need to care about protecting our devices and accounts because these criminals can gain access to everything. Your authenticator app, your Google Pay, banking accounts if you have them, or even your social media accounts. So your phone needs to be guarded like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. So Facebook and other social media platforms are not the only way that you can receive nefarious links via text. If you shared your personal number online, cyber thieves may discover and text you directly, and they can send links to you and or all of your friends once you click on that link. So they can do this without social media being involved. Then once they gain control of your phone, they continue to replicate the same thing with all of your friends. So these cyber bandits can start the process of scamming everyone from your phone and the information and context that you have in it. So sometimes we think, I don't need to worry about being hacked. I don't need to worry about identity theft or protecting my device. I'm very careful. Or are we just hoping that it won't happen to us or someone that we know? So how can we prevent this from happening to us? There are billions of people that are using social media, and your age group makes up about a third of these users, and that number continues to grow. Facebook is one of the largest platforms that bad actors use to obtain this information on unsuspecting targets. We have surpassed the initial purpose of connecting with friends and family and sharing photos and exciting life events on social media. Now these platforms are used heavily by corporations as a main marketing tool with customers built right in. We have built careers out of sharing and protecting information online, but we are too few to keep up with all these bad actors. This is why we need more people to consider a career in cybersecurity. So I hope when you're ready that you consider this as an option for you. Technology, to the extent that these social media giants.
Dawn,
Yes?
I'm so sorry to interrupt. We have a question from an audience member. They're not very clear on whether it was clicking on that link that compromised their account as well as their phone, or if it was some other part, or if it is a sequence of steps that compromised their device as well as their accounts.
She clicked, and now you got to imagine, sometimes we click with our fingertips and not a mouse. So even if it's in text, we're still clicking on a link. So it was that she clicked on the link that was sent to her phone.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm not sure where I left off in this sentence. So technology has progressed to the extent that the social media giants like Facebook and Google are now being used to authenticate identity for applications, other applications. like websites or games or anything else that you can set up an account for. So many employers are searching social media for prospective employees, even through marketing. And social media has become the personality check. So what you do put out there, it really does matter. On average, we spend nearly 2 hours or more, because we're also including school and entertainment, just scrolling through social media. And now that we have platforms connecting to apps on our phones and devices, there's more pressure to secure them. And as you can imagine with Prisha and Vanny, your digital DNA can reach far more than just your profiles, your social media profiles. Their story demonstrates that through your social media, your phone, and other accounts, that they can be hijacked just with one click, and that's it. That's all it takes to lose access to everything, is one click. So let me show you, I'm going to show you how easy it is to be scammed online. So here we go. Look at this. This is how easy it is to be scammed online, to have your identity stolen. Someone you know could lose their identity from your device or accounts being compromised. So here's another angle on how easy it is to have your profile hacked. And this angle shows you how easy it is to infect your computer with malware and be a victim of ransomware. This angle shows you how easy it is for a child to lose their identity or to visit a malicious web page. And this angle is up from above. So it doesn't matter where or how you're clicking, or if it's even on a phone with a fingertip, it only takes one link or one click to lose everything. So moving into these bad actors, these hackers are like gold miners. They are looking for treasures, and your information just may be their next lucky strike. So it doesn't matter. But it doesn't just stop with your social media accounts, as we learned from Danny and Prisha. If your device has more than just your friends and phone numbers in it, then there's a lot of vulnerabilities there too. So now the bad actor could have a path to leverage you against your friends and their vulnerabilities. So these bad guys may steal your identity, or it's possible for someone that you know may lose or risk having their identity stolen once they have mined your information. You may think nothing in your phone is worth stealing, but it's about your friends and your families now. It's who you have access to. What you have on your phone could lead a cyber criminal right to them. So did you know that anyone that has said, I don't have anything that's worth taking, well, it's no longer, that's not what it's about anymore. The jackpot is information, and everyone has information that are valuable to the bad actors. So the gold today is information, and that we have no shortage of. So where do we start? Each platform has different security features that you need to become very familiar with, specifically the ones that you use. Mark your calendars to browse through your security settings, or for each of your platforms at least twice a year. Security is not a set it and forget it exercise. It requires constant updates to stay ahead of these bad guys. So you need to coordinate this with your calendar somehow, maybe change or check your security settings every time you change a password, or at least every couple of months. And you might say, Dawn, why do I need to do all that? You need to do this because these platforms change their security options frequently. And if you are not aware of a new security feature, your account could then become vulnerable to hackers. So get comfortable with your security settings and get familiar with what they do. And this is another permanent change in our way of life. It's part of our culture now. It's part of being online. So now that you know what you need to protect, let's go over some simple steps to help you secure your accounts. Start by making your friends and contacts private on your social media accounts, and this will help to prevent scammers from targeting them and using you as leverage. Most social media platforms offer this option to make your profiles private, which allows you to control who can see posts and private information. We all share in responsibility of protecting our personal connections online by sharing less information with the public. By making less information available, we can make it more difficult for con artists to steal from us. And then as a side note, some people have been victims of stalking or harassment. So keeping information safe by hiding your friends list may help some of them avoid harm or abuse. So your age group is a little bit more vulnerable to online phishing scams. So having a safe practice of not clicking on links will help protect yourself from malicious links. These links are a type of online security threat. Yes?
Shall we do this?
I'm sorry?
Shall we do this activity?
Sorry, Hanuman, your question is not very clear. Do you have a question related to the session? Do you have any doubt as of now, or anything which you would want Dawn to emphasize upon?
No, sir. No, sir. Thank you.
Oh, okay, fine. Dawn, you may continue. Sorry.
Okay. And just so that we can make sure these are clear, maybe if it's possible, let's hold those questions till the end. We'll get to the presentation and then we'll have Q&A afterwards, so we can engage in a conversation if it's possible, unless it's an urgent question that we need to answer to clarify what I'm saying on the screen. So I was just talking about how these links are a type of online security threat that can come from clicking on anything that seems innocent. It can appear to be from someone you know, like your best friend. So not only can these links wreak havoc on your devices, they may take you to fake websites that look real, but it's actually designed to steal your information. Links may expose your devices to all sorts of malware, viruses, identity theft scams. So even if it looks safe, it could be hiding malicious code that can infect your computer. So like I said, don't click on those links, even if it's from someone you know. Log into that account using a known bookmark, or type in the address into the URL, or type in the URL into the address bar manually. Make sure the link is from a verified and trusted source. And if someone sends you a message like Vanny did to Prisha, or Vanny got from Prisha, call them directly to verify that they are asking for help. You can never be too careful these days. So even if it is a link from what appears to be your best friend or a family member, you need to call them and ask them if they're trying to have you help them unlock their account. In the digital age, we are sharing details and events that become part of our culture in many ways. However, it has come at a price for many. Oversharing personal information online can lead to identity theft or financial scams. There are many ways that criminals can exploit personal information that is shared unnecessarily. And when creating an online profile, only share the bare minimum of personal information. For example, do not use your real name, details about where you go for school, or full face photos to help prevent identity theft or online predators from targeting you or friends and family. It's safer to create a nickname to use on posts and not reveal your true identity. Sharing online needs to be kept at a minimum because there is no perceived privacy, and too much information can be a security risk. Here's what many of us, including myself, considers a fun way of sharing what seems to be harmless information. Now, this is a scenario. So let's say it's somebody's birthday and you're going to their favorite restaurant and the family is gathering to celebrate. You post a picture and tag all your friends, your parents, your grandparents, friends from school, other family members, and you tell them what the date and time is. So what happens with that information when a bad actor gets a hold of it is they can glean some information that you weren't really realizing that we're including, even though you didn't mention it. You didn't mention what the birth date, the actual birth date, so we don't think of it sometimes, but you're posting it on the birth date or you're putting it in the post. So just looking at that information that you're providing, it's fun and we want people to celebrate with us, but we're also providing information that could lead to bad actors being able to contact us directly and for nefarious reasons. So with this type of information, I can glean from the rest of your public profile. I can literally build your friends list or your family tree with all the names and ages too. If it's all public, I can find it. And if I can find it, then so can a bad actor. So what happens when we send put a post out there saying, hey, we're celebrating a birthday, is that you notify people when to arrive, what to observe, what city and state you may live in, or country or area. They can watch when you leave. They can do all kinds of things just off that one post. So how do I know? This is what I do with the social media analysis is what I call it. And it's amazing how surprised people are when I can show them how much information is really on there. We think of it as one post at a time, but you got an entire profile that you're building, and that profile is public. So we have to really think of it. Am I adding to that profile that someone else could use in a nefarious way? So be careful with that information that you're storing on your phone, especially because you could lose access to your phone physically, or someone could hijack that phone and also gain access to things that way. So technology provides us with some really cool stuff like smartphones, they even have smart watches that can read and send email or send texts from. And these devices provide us with 24/7 access to information, which is fantastic. Information's not bad. It's just the bad guys that are out there trying to take information that belongs to us. But with the good and the bad, the social media and online scams are becoming an epidemic of a digital kind. So while we're pretty good at keeping track of where our phones are and our gadgets, there are risks to storing too much information, personally identifiable information, or even healthcare information on them. If your phone is compromised, what can a cyber criminal gain from you is the question you want to ask. So let me move on. Make sure you're only downloading from trusted sources. There's a couple of different areas or different platforms that you can download apps to, or apps from, to your phone. It's getting harder to control who has access to your phone when we're downloading apps constantly. We're constantly being bombarded with ads saying, oh, look at this app, that app. And they're interesting, they're fun, it could be games, but we don't know what type of permissions those apps are actually gaining to our phones. So that's another thing to always look at. Limit where you share your personal email address to reduce potential spam and malicious links. Now, we may not be working a lot with emails these days, but just in case, if you do need to have email, then create a specific email for social media. And for example, I want to show you this, where you could put your name and then socialmedia@gmail.com, just as an example. So this helps you to prevent your personal email from being accessed from the internet in a public forum. So it's a lot harder for them to compromise your personal email address, which only your friends and family may have, while this public email address is something you're not going to go and check unless you're locked out of your account and you need to gain access to a code that's going to help you authenticate. So apply mobile updates as soon as possible for your computers and your smartphones, and make sure that you're always on the latest operating system versions. These updates will help protect your device from all the latest known threats. And limit the apps that are connected to your phone, such as games. Review those security settings often to see if any of these apps are on your profile, and remove them if you do not absolutely need them. Playing a game is fun once, but when you're done playing the game, you expect it to be over. However, they secretly attach themselves to your profile, and now they can gain information on your behavior and what you do online. So it's a good idea to go remove that, play the game, but then go remove that access. And remember that those games they're designed to collect information about you. So that's another thought too. And also, these social media giants like Google and Facebook can now authenticate who you are. So when you're trying to log into a new app, it's asking you, do you want to use Google or Facebook? This is not a good idea, because if those are compromised, and bad actors can potentially access those profiles as well. So if they gained access to the app that you're trying to log in with, we don't want to give them a path to all our other applications or in profiles. So don't be afraid not to use your real information. Is to err on the side of caution and not provide your real birth date or any other information online on these platforms. Unless it's a government or financial or an official account, you should use a different date just to protect your identity. Most sites require a birth date simply to make sure that you are of age. So it's not a crime to enter a fictitious birth date or answers to your security questions for these unofficial sites. Pick a different birth year or a significant date that means something to you that you can use for all these sites. That's easy for you to remember, but it's not your actual real date. So that will help to protect your online identity in case that platform is breached. So how you can answer some of these security questions. Now, I know some of these security questions are kind of going away, but we still have them. So while we still have them, we still need to use them in a smart way. So when they ask for mother's maiden name or whatever kind of question that they're asking, this is just an example. So if they ask for your mother's maiden name, instead of just putting Granger, you could put my mother's maiden name is Granger. And that lengthens the length of that security question. You still know the answer, it's still right. But if a bad guy was to get a hold of your mother's maiden name as Granger, they're not going to type in the rest of this. They're going to try Granger and it won't work. So that helps put a little bit more buffer, a little bit more security there for you. So you can also use a grandparent's name or just another name that you like, so long as you can remember it and that it's easy for you to remember and harder for them to guess. If you no longer use an email address or an account or even a profile, please make sure you're deleting them. They could be used by and compromised without you even knowing it. So if you have anything linked back to an email or an account, cyber hackers can actually gain access to that, even if you never see it again. You never open it, you don't want into it, to you, it's gone. But if it's still available out there, it's still available. So let's see. Yeah, they may also be able to use your unwanted account to pretend and act as an imposter. They can impersonate you and then go after some of your friends and family that were connected to that account. So keep your passwords and sensitive data in a secure location, preferably not on your device, and use a password manager that requires a unique passphrase to unlock it. Make sure that you also use unique and complex passphrases for each one of your accounts. And that's hard, but if you use a password manager, that will definitely help. So turn on multi-factor authentication whenever possible. And yes, I know it is a little inconvenient to have to do this extra step, but it's a lot easier than having to recover from identity theft or trying to get your profile back. So it isn't much of a step. It only takes a few extra seconds for peace of mind, knowing that you're as safe as you can possibly be. And this can help prevent cyber vandals from obtaining access to your accounts. It'll take them a lot longer to be able to break in. And this is, I'm just going to brush on this really quick. Speaking of passwords, passwords, the use of passwords is over 60 years old. It is the most outdated security tech we use still today as a method to log onto our devices. So I think that it's time for them to rest in peace. We need to start using passphrases. So let's talk about passphrases a little bit. What should we do instead? So, the passphrase or passwords are easy to crack. They can do it within seconds with the right tools. But if we're starting to use passphrases, it's making it a little bit harder, and it could take them exponentially more time to be able to crack this. So here's why you need to switch to the passphrase. There are a series of words and numbers and characters that you can connect to log into an account. So it typically is made up of multiple words and phrases or even sentences. And it's harder for those hackers to be able to guess them, making them much stronger to protect your accounts. And if you do use the same password for all your accounts, this is all a hacker. They only need to break into one account to be able to break into the rest of them. So it's very important today that we are using different passwords for each of these accounts. And this is where that password manager would come in handy so that you don't have to remember all of them, because we have tons of accounts and tons of passwords or passphrases. So no, it's not convenient, but it is safer, considering that the only thing standing between you and your account is the hacker. So each time you log into your account, we need to, each time you go to a device, you need to log into it, right? Either you have to do a swipe pattern, you have to enter a code, you might have to do an authentication code or a fingerprint. And I think what's important for everybody to know is that hackers they can crack most passwords within a matter of seconds with the right tools. So our goal is to make it as difficult as possible for cyber criminals from stealing your identity and even your hard-earned money. Some of you may be working jobs right now and earning money. We don't want them to gain access to any of that. So use a mix of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, symbols, and spaces. Make it at least 12 to 20 characters long. And I know the longer the better, but I know nobody likes the length of them. But if you make it fun and into a sentence that you can remember, it's not that hard. Avoid using easily guessed words like password or your birth date or your name of your friend or sister or whatever. You got to stay away from using any of that personal information, because that could be found online. And change these passphrases regularly. And I want to check, did you guys catch that you can actually use spaces in your passphrases? You just have to remember them. That's the only difference. So when you have a passphrase or sentence at least 12 characters long, it's highly unlikely that a hacker can crack your passphrase before you change it again. So it may be a little harder, but if you use that password manager, it's going to be a lot easier. So following these best practices will help you to use the internet safely so it does not use you. So I am Dawn, and there's only a couple things here that I'm going to, I want to talk about a little bit more, talking about being in cybersecurity. I've been in cybersecurity for about 20 years, or information in cybersecurity. And in my experiences, there are still shortages of people to join this industry. So now is a good time as you're considering what career path you may want to take. Cybersecurity is a great path to consider for several reasons. So it needs diverse backgrounds. We need to have a diverse defender community because hackers are diverse. There are more women joining the hacker industry or community. So we need more diversity in our workforce as well because we think differently, and that brings more power and more information to that strategy and that defender piece. So massive talent shortages that are going around. So something to consider. And then, like I told you, we had this little challenge. So I wanted to see if you caught all the ways we refer to these bad guys. So you can see the list here, and I kind of sporadically mentioned a little bit of these words throughout the whole presentation, but did you catch the best friend and Prisha? So while Vanny's real best friend is not the bad guy disposes her. So you must consider these as potential dangers too, until you can confirm a suspicious message is actually from them. So thank you for joining me on this webinar and how to keep you and your family safer from cyber criminals. And now we will turn it over to Q&A.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. We have had some interesting questions, from some of the students here. Samanyu has his hand raised. Samanyu, go for it.
Yes, sir. So thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful session. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I had this question that what would be your advice for using VPNs? Like, we hear a lot about them today. Even our favorite YouTubers keep on mentioning about them. So could you please elaborate on that part?
On VPN?
Yeah, on VPN. Like, are they really helpful, or is it just kind of a marketing strategy or something like that?
Yeah. So VPN gives you a point-to-point encryption tunnel, basically, so that any communication you have from point A to point B, so your friend, you to your friend. Now, nothing can really eavesdrop between that connection because that VPN is encrypting that. So you could be in a cafe or a restaurant or a park where you have public Wi-Fi access. And with that public Wi-Fi access, everybody else on that public Wi-Fi can also see and hear what's going on. So we want to make sure that VPN comes in so you can make your communications private. So VPN is essential when out on public Wi-Fi. So I would suggest never use a public Wi-Fi unless you have VPN. That is very good. Great question. Thank you.
Indeed. Wonderful question. Samanyu, do you have anything else to ask? Anything else to add? Has your question been answered? You can't unmute yourself. Okay, just give me 1 second. I'll give you the rights. Right. Okay, guys, all of you can unmute yourself. Please don't do that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Samanyu. Your questions were your hand raised. Okay, back to you, Abdul. Nirupa, you have a question as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Siddharth. John,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm actually an adult user and I dialed in because I'm Krupa's friend. I'm kind of currently strengthening my own cybersecurity best practices. You had mentioned a comment on information stored in our phones. I'm an Apple iPhone user. I wanted to ask you, so do you recommend that we don't save things like a credit card on Apple Pay or health biometrics, which has become such standard practice?
Yeah, and Apple has different apps that allows that kind of stuff, and their encryption is definitely different than an Android. But is it possible to hack it? It may be. So that's where your real question is really coming in, is what is the potential risk? So we have to evaluate that risk and determine, is it safe for me to store this in this particular app? Because the app may have pretty sound security and it could be totally fine to use. That's because these apps are so different, that's where we have to really dive in. We can't say, well, this app's secure, so that one's with it. So I know that wasn't really a direct answer, but we have to consider each application.
Can I just one last clarification on that, Dawn? So my tendency is to trust anything native from Apple at the parent level as opposed to app level. Is that still sort of a good instinct? Meaning my health biometrics are shared at the Apple level as opposed to like on an app level. You know what I mean? Like,
so you're
versus
talking
like-
about, so it's not a native to the OS on the phone, right?
It's the health, like for instance, the health section on your phone. Like it just is, every iPhone user has it, for example. So that to me is native to Apple as opposed to like a standalone app that I'm like downloading.
Anything you store on a device that can't compromise is still going to be a risk. It's the OS or if it's an app. I mean, that's probably the say Apple is, you know, more secure sometimes than Android, but it's not 100%. So I think it's still a risk. Just make sure your OS is always up to date with those latest patch updates, because that's going to protect you from the latest known threats. I hope that helped. Good.
Indeed. Nirupa, thank you for your question, and Dawn, thank you for answering that. We have another question from Arjun of CS Academy. Arjun, you have unmuting rights. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question directly?
In apps also we are having some passwords account. By that people can hack our account.
I'm sorry. It kind of broke up in the beginning. I didn't hear the first part.
In some games also we are having an account and passwords. By that password people can hack our account.
If they, yeah, your passwords, especially the simpler the password, the easier it is to hack those accounts. So you need to really strengthen what you're using and change that to a passphrase, and use an authenticator app if possible on everything. And if they allow that multi-factor of any form, at least use that. So make sure you're adding those layers of security, because that's the best way to protect your devices. Did that answer your question?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Right. We have another question. Arjun unfortunately has texted me that he is not in an environment wherein you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly. So I'll do that for him. He's asking, what can a hacker do the most with his data if there is no bank account or any other financial account linked to him? Like, what can the hacker use his data for other than money related?
Yeah, so that's where if you have any other information stored on your devices, such as your parents, your friends, any family members, and if they can glean information from them, if they can go and search for them now on social media and they can connect these things, they can actually go after them because of what they got off of your device. So you and your device could be the connection to someone else that would be a payoff that does have a bank account. So that's why we have to protect information on our devices, not necessarily just the banking account number or anything like that. We need to really protect information, because that can now be used against you. They can leverage you against your friends and family. Hopefully that answered his question.
I'm sure he would be responding soon, because he's all ears. He's listening to this particular workshop very, very carefully, it seems. Okay, we'll go chronologically. Abdul, if you have a question, please go ahead. I see that there is some bandwidth issue. If you won't mind, I mean, you can type in your question directly to either me or Krupa, and we'll be very happy to put your question across in case you're not finding the right internet bandwidth. I'll try to come back to you again. Meanwhile, I mean, since we are restricted by time, I'll move on to Al Kalam School, Nigeria, have their hand raised.
You're muted.
You are on mute. Sorry, you'll have to.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to ask the question. Quick one. I really appreciate the speaker. It's a wonderful lecture so far. My question is this: you know, in some at times when you want to open an account, there is possible to have set requirements of how you should set your account. The password for the account, in which you'll be expected to put a special character, an alphabet, what have you. In that situation, is there a way one can still paraphrase? Is there a way one can still paraphrase?
Okay, I didn't understand the last part. So you're talking about a password for a new account, and then I got
password for accounts. You know, in some cases, it's possible they will have set requirements of how you should make your password. You know, where you be expected to put a special character, an alphabet, what have you. So in that situation, is there a way one can paraphrase? Is there any way?
You can if they give you enough characters. So some accounts or some platforms are still only allowing up to a certain amount of characters, which I'm hoping that they do change soon, because we need to make them longer. So that option needs to be available. So if they allow you enough characters, then yes, and I would suggest you use at least 3 words for your passphrase or more. You can use those spaces, like I said, too. So if they allow spaces, if they allow characters, you have to also look at what characters they do allow and what they don't allow. So that can sometimes limit what you can use there, but you are kind of constrained to what they allow in their criteria. Hopefully that criteria is opening up and that we're not trying to limit people in what they can use. So I'd like to see that happening. And the longer your password, the better the passphrase. So I suggest 12 characters. Best practices, I think, is still 9, but 12 is, it's coming anyway. So if we can start using 12 now, that will exponentially help secure your password, even more passphrase, because it will take a hacker about 20 years to crack that at this particular point.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that question. And in fact, thank you, Dawn. It is something which I believe most of us were not aware of. Okay, moving on to Satya Hanuman. Hanuman, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Go for it.
If we hack mobiles through games by installing them?
So
Can you be hacked through games?
His question is, Don, can mobile phones be hacked through the way of installation of games?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things here. You're playing games through your phone, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
Hanuman, do you use your mobile phone to play games?
Yeah, I'm playing some games.
Yes. So depending on the game, there's different security settings. But if we're going to an app store and we're downloading games because everybody's playing them, do we know what access we're giving that game? Do they have permissions to access the microphone, and do they have permission to access our contacts? What permissions are we giving those games when we do install them? And do we know what administrative permissions are we giving these games? Also, whatever information you're putting in your profile, so if you're putting in your real name, if you're putting in your actual real phone number, that information could be shared with other people that you're playing with in a virtual setting. And if it's a hacker on the other end of that, then they can take that information, and yes, then you can be further hacked from there. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you for answering my question, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to the next.
I think that we are making the best of this because time.
Okay, guys, I would really appreciate it if you can be on mute. We are in a Q&A round, so Jamil, please ask your question.
Hi, good morning to all of you. Dawn, thank you very much for your presentation. I really like that. I want to ask, we can use hack every time in bad ways, or there is a good way to use hack? because you always talk about like hacking is that like there's a bad way for hacking. Like, there's a good
Yes.
way that we can use
Yeah.
hacking.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, we have white hackers, gray hackers, black hackers, and we have different varieties of colors, right? We have people that work on the blue team, people that work on the red teams. We have these different varieties. And sometimes the white hackers need to have a little bit of gray because we have to think like those black hackers, right? So we're talking about the bad actors that usually are the ones that we're referring to, that black hat. And the cybersecurity professionals are the ones that are usually wearing the white hat, but somewhere in the middle, the black hats might be someone that works in cybersecurity and is in a gray area while they're at work. So there's different ways that we can refer to hackers, and you have to be a hacker to catch a hacker. You just have to have ethics with it. So ethics equals white hat, lack of ethics equals black hat. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
That's
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamil, and thank you, Dawn, again. Okay, moving on. Arjun has another question, and he has posted that question twice, it seems. He's asking, is using a password manager really that secure? Wouldn't the hacker get all the info from just hacking the manager? Then wouldn't this be more dangerous?
That's a great question. So it is equally dangerous if you use a simple password for your manager. The problem with the password manager is that needs to be the strongest password you have. Like in your arsenal, that passphrase needs to be very, very secure. It needs to be long, it needs to have 12 to 20 characters. You need to use upper, lowercase, numbers, symbols, and spaces potentially. So that is the one password you have to remember. You can't forget that password, but you can put all of those other passwords in there and you no longer have to remember them. So you're kind of substituting, I can remember one very difficult password so that I don't have to remember 100 other simpler passwords. So yes, it can be hacked. It depends on how you set it up. So it's individual. If you create a very complex passphrase, then it's going to be harder for them to be able to break into that. So again, that all depends on you.
He's thanking you for answering his question. Thank you for both amazing questions which you have asked. Okay, moving on. Sanjeev, you have a question. Would you like to unmute yourself? Sanjeev, I hope I am audible to you. Oh, okay, he has put his question into the chat box as well, Don. So he's asking, ma'am, recent days I am experiencing ads based on games in my phone, but I couldn't block it. Could you please mention or help me understand the reason behind it and provide me with an idea about how to solve this?
Yeah, sometimes when we download apps, we're also agreeing to, because we're not paying attention to those terms and conditions, we're agreeing to ads and solicitation because we're using that game for free. So there are times when you purchase the game, it removes the ads. That's not the case for everything, but that is a case for a lot of them. So when you download things because they're free, and we become and globally a culture of what can I get for free? I want to play games for free, but when you play games for free, you're going to get ads. You're going to get marketing things coming at you, potentially in your email, texting to your phone, making phone calls, anything that they get access to while you're playing that game, they're going to use that as tactics to sell you something else. So you are the commodity, we are the product. They're selling us information so that if they can gain that access by you signing up for something for free, their terms and conditions may say, we're going to market other items to you because you're using that. So that's something we really have to consider. Is it really worth free, or is it worth peace of mind? And I can play the game without being bombarded. So I'm starting to get away from that free part. I think we kind of all need to move away from what's free because it does give them additional accesses that we're not aware of.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. I got a clarity about it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your question. And like my colleague Krupa has put into the chat box, free is not really free. I was told this, that in this particular world, there's nothing which comes for free. So
Right.
please be very mindful about that. Okay, moving on to the next question. B. Shrinu Babu, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? Shrinu, if I'm audible to you, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question directly? Because I don't see a question from you in the chat box.
Sir, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, ma'am, good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
Yeah. Ma'am, I am working as a teacher. As a teacher of English, every now and then I log into a website. In Chrome, if you type a keyword, I am directed to a particular website. And how can I know that a particular website I am directed to is safe to browse?
So when you're typing in a keyword into Chrome, you're getting links. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm directed to a particular website. Can I browse that? And how can I know that that particular website is trustable or safe enough to browse?
Yeah. So the results that come back from your typing in your keyword, a lot of times you're going to see ads at the top, and it'll have AD next to them. And those are links that somebody has paid to put there. So I try to avoid those, and it could be the same web page you're looking for, but I look for their real the actual URL, and I try to avoid clicking on those ad links in the results page. So always look for the closest resemblance to what you're looking for, and if you click on it, make sure that and sometimes it's even including ratings and stuff in the results. So there's a lot of information you can glean from that before you ever have to click on the link, which is something great that Google has done, is given us a little more information so that we can be a little bit more informed before we click. Because we don't want to open it and then find out that wasn't what I was looking for and then have something bad happen. So read those descriptions, get as much information before you click on that link. And then sometimes you can pin a URL manually instead of clicking on the link, and then you can tell a little bit different. Now that's not as safe, but it's a little safer if you're not sure. Did that answer? Did I get your question correctly?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I got it.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
These are great questions. Love these questions.
Absolutely. Okay, now there is another question from Hemlata. Hemlata, you had your hand raised. However, you have put the question into the chat box. In the interest of time, I'm going to read it out. Hemlata is asking, by logging into his or her account from his or her relatives or friends' mobile, are the chances of hacking incremental if somebody is using another device? Hemlata, correct me if I've asked the wrong question.
So he's using a friend's device?
Yeah, is using a friend's device safe? Is what the question is.
I would say, if you actually really know that person, maybe, but having someone else use your device is probably not a good idea, just because you don't know what information you might have readily available that they could accidentally click on, or what they're going to do. I'm sorry?
I frequently log in.
Guys, I would request you to please stay on mute, or else I'll have to take away the unmuting rights. Dawn, please continue, sorry.
So I was saying, even with my family, my kids, I can show them something on my phone, but they don't take my phone. They don't go and use my phone for something else. They have their own phones. So I would suggest not to let someone else use your device. And if you're wanting to use someone else's device, make sure that it's for a legitimate purpose. Get on and get off, but don't look at their device, because your phone is an extension of your privacy. So sometimes we put our not darkest secrets. Sometimes we have secrets good secrets, may not necessarily be bad. We have secrets on our phone, and we don't want anybody to just, have that access to what our secrets are. And secrets could be your personal, privately identifiable information, your healthcare information. It could be open text that you have going with a clinical type setting. There's just too much information in there that's vulnerable to allow someone else to use your device. So and hopefully you're not using someone else's device a lot.
Right. Thank you for that valuable tip. So, Hemlata, it is not advisable unless, you are using either your parents or your siblings' phone whom you can trust blindly. It's not advisable, to use any.
Don't let it out of your sight. Make sure you're staying right there with it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dawn. I think we have a few more hands raised. Prashad, if you would like to unmute yourself and answer the question.
Hi, this is Prasad, teacher in English, Zilla Parishad High School, Dandapudi, and from Andhra Pradesh. You guys might have known me pretty well, as the videos of our children became so internationally viral in the sense of the government students are speaking with American accent recently. Now, I'm very much delighted to express my heartfelt greetings to you. And I'm very sorry to bring to your notice, my dear guys, that just.
Okay, I am not really sure what.
I have lost 150,000 by heading to the fraudulent. And I think if you had initiated this workshop 1 week ago, I wouldn't have lost this, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
My sincere question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Being a victim. Being a victim. My sincere question to you, my ma'am, that's how to hack the hackers back.
How to do what? I'm sorry.
How to hack the hackers back? Is that your question?
Well, I wouldn't advise to hack the hackers back. If you well, I don't even know if I want to say that. You don't know what kind of dangerous traps that they put in your device or with your account profile, and how they could track what you're doing and add it to another device that you go to trying to gain access to them. So it's not a good idea to try and hack them back. If you do have authorities that can work in this realm, some people I know can hire a white hacker, and sometimes they're very skilled at that and they know how to do it. So if you're going to do something like that, make sure that you're using someone that's a professional.
Dawn, that's a very good piece of advice. I do have a question for you in terms of the regulatory impact and restrictions we have on that kind of thing. My understanding is that in different countries and different jurisdictions, the laws may dictate that we are not permitted to do that.
That's good.
So I just want to make sure that we've all talked about that.
Definitely. And yeah, and that's a great point, because even in the United States, if the law says any kind of hacking is illegal, it didn't say except for white hacking. So when you're behind the walls of a corporation, and you're doing stuff to protect your data there, you have different laws and different codes of capabilities. But when you're personally doing it for something personal, you're not covered by any of that. So there's different areas that you have to consider before ever taking on, but I would suggest not doing it, because you just don't know what you're going to get involved with that's even worse. So it's sad. I'm so sorry that you lost all that you were the victim of that, but there's not a lot that I would suggest that you do except for go to the authorities.
And just to add there, because we keep on seeing advertisements every now and then. Prasad, if you are hearing this, we are absolutely aghast to learn that. However, in the future, of course, the information which you have derived from here today through this session will be helpful. But you can reach out to RBI. They have a helpline, which is the Reserve Bank of India. You can lodge a formal complaint to the cyber cell in your district. And you can take that complaint directly to RBI. They'll be able to track the payment and perhaps trace it back to your account.
Another thing
Thank
with
you.
this
Thank you
too
very much.
is document everything, screenshot everything, because they're going, whoever's going to help you with this investigation, they're going to need that information. So if you're screenshotting what took place, the evidence that you currently have, you need to preserve and document as much as possible so that they have something to work with.
Right.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Great. We are already, we have already spilled over our scheduled time. However, it has been absolutely enthralling. I have questions coming up still. Abdul, I'll give you one last chance since you have been putting in too many requests into the chat box. Please go ahead, speak up, because I don't have your question with me in the chat box.
Abdul Rakib, you are called. Thank you.
Sorry, Abdul, we can't hear you, unfortunately. If you'll be kind enough to drop in your question to me on my email ID later on, we'll be happy to get back to you with an answer on that. Given that we are constrained by time, and since Dawn has been absolutely fantastic, in taking out time on a Sunday, fighting storms to be here for this particular session. Her insights have been absolutely invaluable to me and to everybody, I'm assuming. Dawn, before you go, we have a little something for you. Just give me 1 second. I'll just pull up my screen. We went to while you were fighting storms, we went to the Himalayan jungle and we did something in our own accord.
Aww.
Perhaps, this will add to another cause, which all of us are, perhaps very much fighting for. So we express our sincere gratitude to you for this wonderful lecture. We have gone ahead and planted 10 trees under your name in the Himalayan forest. There is a QR code, you can scan it and you will be able to get the GPS coordinate. And whenever you visit India, whenever you go to the Himalayan forests, you will see that there are trees planted in your name.
That is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this for us. We are absolutely delighted by your session, and I'm sure students have equally enjoyed it. Thank you. If you have any last words, we'll be all ears. Students, I would request you to stay back. There is something which you need to do for us as well. But Dawn, any last words, which you have?
I think this is so amazing. You totally touched my heart. I love this. And I'm so happy that I was able to be here and share some of my expertise with everybody, because it's nothing if I can't share it. So we need to, my mission is to bring cybersecurity out of corporate America. I think everybody's entitled to it. I think we need to teach everybody. If a lot of times we say in the industry, everybody's responsible for protecting their data. Well, I say if that's true, then we have to teach them how to do that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm out here trying to reach 1 million people to teach them, individuals. It could be our youth. It could be people that are non-tech savvy. If I can help bring security into the homes, then that is going to increase our security posture globally. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I've really enjoyed it. And also, I'll let you determine, Krupa, if you want to determine if people can continue to send questions, and maybe I can do a follow-up Q&A video trying to answer them, or something along that line. It's just a thought. Just let me know what you would like to do there.
Dawn, that's mighty generous of you. Thank you so much for an absolutely riveting session today. And I've been part of organizing lots and lots of different sessions. And in all honesty, I haven't seen this many people put up their hand and being willing to engage. So thank you for being approachable, and thank you for staying past the scheduled time to answer questions. We will most certainly and most gratefully take you up on your offer. Perhaps, we can coordinate between Siddharth and the students so that they're able to submit their follow-on questions to him, and we will communicate those back to you to see whenever it is you might be able to find time on your calendar to get to them.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Really appreciate your generosity, Dawn. Thank you. Thank you for your time, and once again for this wonderful session. It has been a delight. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for your questions. I love them.
Thank you, Dawn. Appreciate it. Yes,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
I think Siddharth had one last ask of all of you before you left. So if you could just stay on for a couple of more minutes.
Very important piece, which we need to complete. It's basically, all of you filling in your feedback so that we know what went well, what didn't went well, and can improve from there. Also, very, very important from the certification point of view, as it was explained yesterday. This is the way we are keeping a track of your attendance as well. So please fill in your feedback and we would know that you were here. Some of you missed filling your feedback yesterday and I was getting calls until midnight. Please refrain from doing so today. Do not miss on the opportunity. However, I'll also be putting in this link into the group which we have created. And as and when you are done, filling the feedback through the link which has been provided into the chat box now, you all can drop off. And we will see you on 8th of October with our next session. I would also like to, tell you all that you all have been wonderful with your questions today. That has already been said multiple times, but please try and understand, the concept of this particular workshop. We want you to be curious. We want you to have that spirit of inquiry, and we want you to ask as many questions as you can. So we have already shared the schedule with you, I'm assuming. It's already on the website. You can take a look as to which is the next upcoming workshop topic. You can accordingly do your homework, perhaps keep some, riveting questions by the side and ask them to our speakers, because these are truly wonderful, speakers or session leaders, which we have been able to put together for you. And I would refrain now from making this a monotonous, activity wherein I'm the only one speaking. If you all have any question, I'm all ears. I'll be very happy to answer them to you. If not, for those of you who have joined us from Nigeria, a very good afternoon to you. From those of you who have joined us from the US, different time zones, I'm assuming, Eastern time, good morning. For those of you who have joined us from India, good evening, and have a very good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Wonderful to have you all. Have a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I already submitted the feedbacks.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have a good evening and
Thank you,
good
sir.
day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you, everyone. It was wonderful to have you
Good
all.
evening.
Wonderful session.
Okay, guys, I would be ending this meeting now. Thank you.